Here's the hard truth. This world is a very terrible, cruel, and awful place to live in. Every day we receive violence, pain, death, and chaos just surround us. But most importantly of all, we're going to see the people in this world that only really care for themselves. They're selfish, they're self-centered, they're narcissistic. They never see the other half of the picture. I'm sure we all know one person that's like this. If you haven't met them yet, you will, one day. But in the grand scheme of things, we're all fairly selfish. In the most desperate times, we would always choose ourselves over a stranger. Deep down, we all really want to be remembered. We want our names engraved in the history books, and we don't want to be forgotten in time like so many others in the past. We want to make our mark in this world. We crave popularity, followers, likes, and subscribers. Is this not true? We really can't take that kind of pain. We can't really take the real hits that life will throw at us, and we always need the positive reinforcement from others. But it's one of humanity's greatest and most foul of beliefs and ideas that has just evolved over the centuries. It's sad to say this, but it's true. Not everyone's like this, but it's just a general rule of thumb. But I promise there is still some good in this. Let me share a story with you that might put this all into perspective. When I was younger, I was told a story about my family's past. At a young age, one of my close relatives had basically nothing. She lived in relative poverty and had nothing to really call her own. She barely got 2 meals a day. Her family was poor, and every night she was forced to sleep on the streets. She had nothing, no home, no money, like nothing to call her own, no phone, no TV, no Wi-Fi. But you know what? She was happy. Why? Because she finally realized that life is really going to suck. Because life's going to kick you hard and you might not be able to get back up. It was very clear to her that she was living a life that could be so much worse than it was. So she was grateful for those 2 meals a day. She was really grateful for that one blanket that kept her warm at night. She was grateful and humbled by what little she had, unlike many of us who just take so much for granted. She couldn't take things for granted. She couldn't be arrogant, and she didn't think that she needed more because she had everything that she needed. She's currently working as a medical practitioner and is living rather lavishly. Isn't that something, though? From going from rags and poverty to being a full-time medical expert. It's something that's amazing. And by living humbly, we can truly be good people in our lives. Humility is one of the most important characteristics that one person can have in this life. If everyone really showed humility in their everyday lives, we wouldn't have those people that saw themselves as gods. Narcissism, pride, and supremacy would completely end in a world filled with humility. In a world of humility, we would not have wars nor disputes, for all wars and disputes are about one side believing that they are better than the other. Is that not true? The belief that they can beat their enemies, believing that they will win, and having the idea that they are right and their enemies aren't. It doesn't end there. By being humble, we can solve so much more in our lives, including like world hunger, poverty, and greed. We can do so much by just being humble. When we put ourselves lower than others, we can stop wanting things for ourselves and help give back to others that are in far more need than we will ever be. And help and give back to others who just are in more need than we could ever. So the answer to so much in this world, the racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, and so many of the other isms and perspectives in this world is truly humility. The answer is humility. When we stop thinking we are always right, because we are not, and finally see how we can change the world through humility, we can truly change the world for the better. Humility is how we as a society will continue to progress into a future without anger, hatred, nor despair. When we show humility to others, we are putting ourselves lower than them. And by doing this, we can truly move one step closer to a world filled with peace. On a different note, though, I know many people in my own life, and I'm sure you do too, who don't want to live humbly. One person I knew was quite the opposite of the definition. He only cared about himself and acted as if he were royalty. He got into many conflicts with other people that I thought wouldn't hurt a fly, just because he thought that he was so much more than others. It was pretty irritating to see someone feeling and believing that they were so much higher than others, never really seeing the other half of the picture known as life. Sometimes people would rather be dignified than good. They choose to be famous, rich, and wealthy over being good and kind. I believe in the opposite, and I know many people would agree with me. I'd rather be good than dignified. Many other people, well, in a way, we are all alike. Currently, we're all living common lives with common thoughts. There are no memorials dedicated to our achievements, and most of our names will be forgotten in the annals of history. But by living a humble life, we can truly live a happy and good one. That is how humanity progresses. We can progress by changing the way we think and allow ourselves to be open to what humility can do, not just for you and me, but for everyone. Actually, you know what? I'm going to kind of derail for a bit and tell a experience that might help someone out. Just a couple weeks ago, I was practicing this very speech, and I did pretty badly. I failed completely because I forgot my lines, and I was not prepared whatsoever. That very day, I also learned that I did pretty bad on one of my tests, which for CAM students is not so great. Anyways, side note, I also lost my headphones, and that was pretty sad too. But that's not the point. It was a pretty bad day to say the least. But a couple days later, I realized that my failure was actually pretty good. It shattered my arrogant ego and made me reevaluate the way that I was thinking. The failure made me learn that I'm going to fail, that we are going to fail quite often, and it will be pretty bad. As I said before, life is going to suck. Accept it. Life is not fair. It will cheat you out of everything. Life's going to beat you up, chew you up, and spit you out like you were nothing. You're going to embarrass yourself. You're going to lose friends. You're going to watch yourself crumble underneath the pressure of your friends and peers. It's life. You're going to fail a lot. But in the words of Rocky Balboa, it doesn't matter how many punches you can throw. What really matters is how many punches you can take and still get back up. We must allow ourselves to see these failures as something as really good, not terrible and as a failure. When we stop being so arrogant and see that we're going to fail, we can truly do great things in our lives. We're not perfect. We're far from it. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to lose quite often, quite a lot. But when we stop thinking that life is without its bumps and start realizing how lucky we are, we can truly be the people that we've always wanted to be in this life. And that's the truth. But at the end of the day, I just ask you to try one thing. Try and live humbly so that humanity can see the goodness of what we can and will do. Stop focusing on the arrogant people in this world, but instead look up to those who truly care for you. See the world as it is, not how the selfish and cocky see it. Don't brag about your victories, instead emphasize your losses. Focus on how you can prove yourself and the world simply by your failures. Fail, learn, and repeat. Those are words to live by. Therefore, let us go out into this desolate and fragile wasteland that we call planet Earth and help the poor, help the distraught, and help those who don't realize the world does not revolve around them. Help the world. Make it a better place for everyone, for you, for me, for our children, and the generations afterward. I know this may all sound like a dream made by a foolish young boy, but hey, we can try. For trying to be humble is the best thing that one could ever do in this short and perilous life. Do the right thing. Thank you.